And now, from the creators of Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill, we present to you Anime the Movie. Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
Yeah, I'm Michelle.
This is our post-Geekout reaction for Promare, which, okay, a lot of you ain't gonna know what this is, but the people out there who know what this is, you're very excited that it's finally here. Yeah, this is from Trigger Studios, which is the same studio that they did Gurren Lagann, they did Kill la Kill. They also did Panty and Stocking, I want to say.
Maybe, or I think that might be Gynax.
That was Gynax, but Gynax and Trigger, like, they both worked hand in hand.
Yeah, they did a lot of stuff together.
So I'm trying to remember, I was like, all right, where's the split? Which, if these guys did not do Panty and Stocking, I'm very happy about that, because that's like the one thing by this company that I've been like, oh, that's the one thing that I don't enjoy from you. So yeah, the important thing is they did Kill la Kill and they did Gurren Lagann. Two things that I am massive fans of, especially Gurren Lagann. I don't know if I've ever talked about this, but after I got out of college, there was that point where I was starting to get like really depressed and I had this awful office job after another terrible office job. And it was one of those things where it's like, well, I had all these goals and aspirations and now they're not really going anywhere. And now I'm just kind of getting sad. And I was like, well, maybe I should do the stuff that I used to love. And I was like, anime, used to love anime. Don't really like anime anymore. Video games, used to like video games. Don't really like video games anymore. And then Gurren Lagann and Persona 3 came out at like the exact same time. And like those just re-energized me. It was like, oh, I like things again. I'm happy about stuff again. Yeah, Gurren Lagann got me back into anime hard. There is that, like, this is not even a joke, this is actually real. I used to go in my old neighborhood and go for a jog on a daily basis, and I had my iPod with me, but I didn't have music on the iPod. I just had the final episode of Gurren Lagann on there, and I would just listen to that and be like, that's all I need, just run to that, yeah. That's what I used to exercise to. Not even like the music, just like the spoken words, like Gurren Lagann, the audiobook. So yeah, I've been looking forward to this, and you'll have to forgive me if we're going off about Gurren Lagann there, but this is basically Gurren Lagann. Like,
yeah.
The main character is Kamina, for God's sake. It's 100% just kind of, this thing matches up with Gurren Lagann so well that towards the end of Gurren Lagann, they mentioned that there are alternate realities out there, and then after Gurren Lagann went off the air, they put out a series of music videos, and each of the music videos, they were all animated by different studios, just kind of be like a celebration of Gurren Lagann, and all the animations were of the different alternate realities that they talked about. So there were some where it's like, oh, the villains are now the heroes, and the heroes are now the villains, or there were other ones that were just weird and trippy things that's like, that doesn't really tie into anything in here, but okay, sure, I guess I can see some relationship between these things, okay, interesting. But you watch this one, and like, it's just so matching up on almost every freaking level that you just look at it and go, I don't know if this is supposed to be on purpose or not. But it doesn't matter, because I'm enjoying it.
Is the parallel universe thing kind of like spoilery, or?
No, because all they do is they just mention that there's a parallel reality. Like, that doesn't, like, they do not mention how it ties into the plot or anything. They just mention, like, there are alternate realities out there at one point in there.
Well, kind of, like, doesn't, like, the parallel universe...
The more you explain, the closer it does get into spoiler territory. I'm going to let you know that right now. I'm going to let you know that right now. Because I know where this is going. Like, me just saying in Gurren Lagann they mentioned alternate realities at one point, that doesn't spoil anything. But if you come in here and go, yeah, but didn't they say this exact thing in this exact... Stop. Stop. Yes, okay, so, anyway, back to Promare. What this is about, and this is so freaking weird that it is about this, and we'll get into why it's weird in a second, but what this is about is that it is about, in the world, one day spontaneous human combustion just started happening and spraying across the planet, but it wasn't like people just set on fire. They set on fire, and then they became like super-powered fire people, and so now that led to a giant war where the people who they spontaneously combust, they're called the Burnings. That's what they're called, right? Yes, okay.
The Burnish.
The Burnish, that was it. I knew it wasn't,
it's very similar.
I knew it wasn't the Burning, I knew it was something else. The Burnish. They're called the Burnish, and that led to some giant war. And now it's 30 years after that war, and now mankind, they've completely rebuilt, they're in these new futuristic societies, but firefighters are now, like, mech piloting anime heroes. Mm-hmm. They literally, firefighters no longer just respond to regular fires, they now respond to when a burnish activates and just starts burning something down.
Yeah, like a burnish terrorism, basically.
Yeah, the Burnish are referred to as terrorists in here. they're basically supervillains too, even in like their appearance and everything. Because it's not like they're just consumed in fire. They can actually create stuff with their fire. So like the Burst, they all create like armor with big crazy teeth and horns whenever they power up. And they can even create like vehicles that they ride around on. And this thing starts off with a burnished terrorist burning up a building. And so the firefighters get called in there. And they don't just drive in there in their truck. They have like a mad scientist in there where she's like typing away and she activates mechs for them. And there's different members and they hop in there and they like get into these mechs that starts transforming around them. It looks so like a Saturday morning 1980s cartoon. Like one of those ones where it's like, go and ask your parents to buy you this toy now. It looked like such a blatant toy commercial.
But with way better animation.
And I'm 100% okay with it. That's what I need to say. I'm 100% okay with it. Because it's this studio, and at this point, you know what to expect from this studio. But also, this studio is able to make that work because they just embrace that stuff.
That's what really is great about Trigger, is like they know what they are, and they even like poke fun at themselves sometimes.
Especially in this, because towards the end of this thing, you might as well just pull out the Trigger bingo card and just going, yep, that thing came in here. Yep, wow, okay, I didn't think we were gonna get to that, but there it is, all at once. And they just come in here and just go bam, 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 bam. And there's so many things in this movie that you might be looking at me and going, I know that you've complained about that specific thing in other things, like Deus Ex Machina. I always say one of my biggest complaints comes from Deus Ex Machina. This is one of my biggest pet peeves whenever somebody uses a Deus Ex Machina. They use a Deus Ex Machina in here, but they've always used Deus Ex Machinas in Trigger things. But they always use them in a way that makes you go, yeah, okay, that makes perfect sense. Like, Gurren Lagann is a perfect example. Because Gurren Lagann, it was all about them getting these mechs, but the mechs are capable of just, like, feeling their fighting spirit, for lack of better terms. So when they just get charged up even more, the mechs can transform into a bigger form, and then the mech can bond with another big machine to become an even bigger mech to fight something else out there. And yeah, that's what was awesome about that thing. Yes, it is one of those things where you look at it and go, I didn't know they could do that, and now they can just do that and just solves all their problems. But because they're able to just embrace it and lean into it so much, when that happens in Gurren Lagann, you just look at it and go, hell yeah, they can do that. I believe in the them that believes in me. Yeah, let's do this thing. That happens in here, and they just so blatantly, like, the Deus Ex Machina in here is one of the best Deus Ex Machinas I have ever seen, and we'll get to that in the spoiler section in here. But it's because they just so blatantly turn to the camera and just like, we know what this is. Isn't it awesome? And I'm there in the audience like, yes.
It's like, we know what you're here for.
Yeah. Like, this studio, it's not just that I know the studio does that and I'm okay with this studio doing that. It's that I'm okay with this studio doing that because they know how to do it. They know how to do it in a way that just makes you go, I don't get that logic out of my head. Screw that.
Yeah, it's like, it's not pandering. That's the thing that separates it from like a lot of other studios.
Yes, exactly. This studio, when they do the thing that you know that they do, it is not pandering. It is not them just turning to you and going, hey, we know you like this stuff, so we're going to give you this stuff. They turn to you and go, we know you like this stuff because we do it well. We're about to do it really well. But as I said, what the movie is about that in the future, firefighters, they have to fight these things called the Burnish, which are these humans that gain the power of spontaneous human combustion. They can use the fire to reshape things. And there are a group of Burnish terrorists. And this thing opens up with our protagonist, who is 100% just Kamina, like in hair and design and everything, but especially in attitude.
Yeah. Because like maybe like a younger Kamina.
A little bit younger, yeah. Well, I don't know. Because he looks bigger than Kamina. But Kamina, hello motorcycles outside. He looks bigger than Kamina, but he does have like these big youthful eyes. Mm-hmm. But I have to remind myself, yeah, Kamina was like 16 or something in that original series.
That's true.
Like, he was young, but he looked like most anime protagonists, where it's like, hi there, my name is Dio, and I'm 12 years old. Giant muscle man. You know the weirdest thing about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is that I saw a clip of the first episode again after like going through the entire series. And everybody talks about how, yeah, they do not look like they're 12 years old at the beginning of that thing. But they get so much bigger and so much buffer as that series goes along that when I returned to that original clip from the first episode, I was like, they look like babies now by comparison to what they end up becoming. That's neither here nor there. I will get to JoJo when I have the time. But yeah, so he is definitely older. He's probably like the oldest protagonist that's ever been in a Trigger thing because he's a firefighter. He's got to at least be over 18 to do that. But they end up going up against these burnished villains, and they end up capturing them. But after they're captured, it's revealed that, yeah, they're kind of like at the bottom of the burnished fighting department, and there's this other department above them called the Freeze Force.
Yeah.
And they are the big, like, as soon as they show up, you know, all right, the burnish ain't really the bad guys in this. Like, as soon as the Freeze Force shows up, it's like, I know who's gonna be the real bad guy, because the leader of the burnish, what's his name? Do you remember?
Was it Leon? Lion? No, it's Leon.
It's like Leo or something. It's like
Lion or Lo? No.
I think it's just Lio. Whatever. But yeah, I think it's like Leo or something. I am terrible at remembering names. I have made this clear many times. But as soon as you see his face underneath like the big monster armor, it's like, that is a pretty man. And then the leader of the Freeze Force comes in, and he is such a trigger villain.
Like, gigantic muscles,
man,
like
razor sharp teeth. He even does the villain head cock that all trigger villains do, where they come in and like that little motion that all trigger villains do. It's like, yeah, I know you're gonna be the bad guy in all this. So, as soon as they end up arresting the Burnish, we then start following two different stories in here. We start following, I almost called him Kamina. We start following Gallo, and we find out about his past, about how he was rescued by this person from a fire.
Like
and he went on
Foresight.
Cave, it wasn't Cave Foresight.
I thought it was.
His last name is Foresight.
Foresight, yeah. But basically...
We'll just call him Foresight.
Yeah. So, basically, he... Foresight not only rescued him, but he's also, like, the governor... governor of this town, and he's the one who, like, set up, like, the fire
He set up
force.
this lab to help contain the Burnish, and he's been the one his studies in the Burnish have caused him to win many awards, and it's the reason why we have all this technology to fight the Burnish in there. But again, he's another one of those characters that as soon as you see him, you're just like, oh, you're gonna be the bad guy. Like, I don't even feel bad saying that's a spoiler in here. I mean, the trailers don't even try and hide that shit.
It's like, you're too nice. You're hiding something.
He also, again, if you know Trigger, this dude might as well have one of the Goku uniforms from Kill la Kill. Like, he's literally just there, giant, broad shoulders, and a pure white, nicely tailored, very firmly ironed suit. Just like, not a speck of dirt on that outfit. Meanwhile, you got our hero running around without a shirt on for 90% of the movie, just like making all these hand signs, just like, my firefighting spirit will save the day and put out the entire world's fire, like making those speeches. And then you've got this guy over here, hands always behind his back, never raising his voice, keeps his eyes closed the entire time. It's like, yeah, you're gonna be a bad guy. We totally know that. That's exactly how this is going to go down. And I'm not going to get into too many other spoilers past this point, but again, we know that the Burnish are not the bad guys in this. And we know that the firefighters are not the bad guys in this. It's the people above them who are the bad guys, and this all does kind of come down to the two sides having to team up to save the entire planet. And I kept talking about how, like, yeah, I'm a big fan of Trigger stuff. I'm a big fan of Gurren Lagann. I'm a big fan of Kill la Kill. And I kept mentioning that because, A, as we said, this is all the stuff that they do well, boiled down to like 2 hours. But it's also like the entire 26 episode story of one of those shows boiled down to one thing. Like, it goes through all the twists and turns that you would expect from any one of those other series I just named, except for like maybe one of the middle twists in there doesn't end up happening. And you just take that middle part out and then you just whoop, move it together a little bit. This thing, it feels jam-packed, but it doesn't feel rushed. It feels like a lot of stuff happens in here, but it does not feel like we needed more. I would have been fine with more. I would have been fine with this being a 26-episode long series, because I think that there's enough material there that you absolutely could have stretched this thing out. But they did have to. And it absolutely fit into the length of time that they were going for in this. Let's talk about the animation in here, because I know that that's something that you definitely want to touch on. And I feel like it is worth pointing out, because Trigger always has gorgeous animation, stunning animation. But this is really their first time that they've experimented with 3D animation.
Yeah, like computer graphics.
Yeah, computer graphic animation.
Yeah, because you can tell, like, when something is like drawn by hand and then done like with computer, and usually sometimes
that's something that we've been seeing a lot in modern day anime, and I can't.
Yeah, usually
I'm not a fan.
Usually the CGI is very much an eyesore compared to like the hand drawn stuff.
Which I get that it's a lot easier, and I get that anime, like Japanese animation studios, they have so much pressure on them. Like, they get so much more pressure than American animation companies get. They are being put upon so much more. People are, like, dropping unconscious there in the workplace because they're being overworked that much. So if you can do something to make it easier on you, I understand, man. Go ahead, do it. I understand. But, yeah, I can't, like, turn my brain off enough to go, like, yeah, that looks totally just fine. Like, people keep telling me to check out Netflix's Ultraman. They keep saying that thing is amazing. I have tried watching that. The computer-generated animation just looks so bad. I can't do it. This one, it's okay.
Yeah, like, it blends in very well because it's like,
first off, it's never like the people.
No, that's the thing. Computer effects are always best for, like, man-made, like, unnatural, like, not organic things.
Yes.
So it's like, you know, with the buildings and, like, with the mechs and everything, like, go and do CGI for that, the computer effects for that stuff. Leave the hand-drawn stuff for, like, the people.
Yeah, especially with, like, the amazing animation that Gainax is known for. Like, yeah, you kind of need that there, but I gotta say, they were able to take a lot of the animation that we know, not Gainax, but Trigger for.
Yes.
And they were able to translate that even into the 3D stuff, because as I said, characters in Trigger things, they have a very unique way of moving. I mentioned, like, the villain head pop that we just know from Trigger characters. They're able to take, like, that very unique animation where, like, characters just pop and lock in place constantly. They were able to take that and put that into 3D and make it work very well. Like, there's a moment in which the Burnish power up and they've got their armors on them. And yeah, that's clearly, like, the 3D animated stuff. But because they're still able to move in that exact same pacing and exact same way that Trigger characters do, yeah, it fit very naturally in there, I thought.
Also, the computer animation is like, basically the whole movie is way more stylized.
Yes.
And because of that, the computer blends in better.
There's also so much more going on.
Exactly.
Because, like, Gurren Lagann, that's in a big, massive open wasteland for the vast majority of that series. Kill la Kill, yeah, that's in a town, and there's a lot of cool stuff happening in that town, but it's like an old-fashioned kind of town. It's kind of run down. This is a big, futuristic city with, like, tons of cars. It's very much meant to be based on New York. Because there is a moment in which you see them all sitting around eating pizza, and I looked at that and went, that's Times Square that they're in right now. Like, it's 100%, like, even, like, the geography of it, like, the architecture of it, it's based on the layout of New York and, like, all the big billboards and everything coming into that central point there. So, yeah, you got all these billboards, all these cars, all these people walking around. Yeah, computer generated, it works a lot better for that than it would in any of the other Trigger things that we've seen. Also, the Burst's specific type of fire, because they don't use, like, regular flames. They have, like, these purplish cubes.
No, more like triangles. Like, triangle is basically the symbol of the burnish.
Man, you want to talk about another thing that Trigger does? They will find their image and just stick with that. Gurren Lagann was about a drill from start to finish. This thing, triangles everywhere. And when you see, like, the Burst activating their fires, it's all computer generated, but it's a bunch of triangles just poking out of forms.
Up. And I noticed, like, they use shapes very well, because basically, like, the triangles represent the burnish, and, like, cubes, they represent the what was it, the frozen force or
frozen force? Yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, they freeze the fire. Freeze force. They freeze fire, and like, their main weapon is ice.
Whenever
ice
they freeze someone, it's a giant cube.
Yes, ice cubes and everything. So it's like, you got your triangles,
I didn't even notice that until now, but you're absolutely right. Yeah, that is absolutely, like, a symbol that they use in there.
And, like, in the more spoiler stuff, they introduce circles, too.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, cool. But yeah, I had a blast with this. This is one of those things where it just gets you pumped, because that's what Trigger does. They know how to introduce likable characters that you instantly understand, instantly get attached to, ramp up that energy, and then yes, they go to crazy limits with their stuff, but they know how to do it. Like I said, Gurren Lagann was the thing that got me back into anime, Because it was the thing that reminded me of why I liked anime when I was a kid. It was that thing that reminded me of like, oh yeah, these shows that make you just feel like, yes, I can, if I believe strong enough, go to this other power level and just reach beyond all my limits. I am the drill that will pierce the heavens. Yeah, it was one of those shows that just reminded me of all that excitement that I got when I was a kid for this stuff. And they just know how to continuously do that, and this is one of those things that does that. When you've got our heroes flying in there and just going on these big crazy speeches about power, it never feels like, yeah, I've seen this stuff before. Like, no, you are pumping your fist at this thing. If you can still see this week in theaters, because I think it's only in theaters for like one more week, it'll probably be on Blu-ray like immediately afterwards. But if you can see it in a theater with an audience, go ahead and do it, because anime audiences are the best to see movies with, because they are 100% feeling it at all times. So yeah, I had a blast with this thing. One other thing to point out is that, oh yeah, the music. Music's great.
Oh yeah.
Music is great. Like, that's another thing about Trigger. Trigger gets the right people to make their music. Like, Surawa Days, or however it's pronounced, from Gurren Lagann. Again, like, to this day, that thing starts up and you're just feeling it. But Kill la Kill also had amazing music in here. I spent all last night just listening to the same 3 songs over and over again from this thing, just like on YouTube, because I can't find any way to buy it actually online. Let me buy your thing. I want to give you money. So yeah, I really did enjoy this. Only real complaints I'd have about this is that there's some transitions they put in here that I'm like, I don't know about it. Like, there's every now and again, whenever they transition from one scene to another, they do it by flickering between them.
Yeah.
I hated that, honestly. That
Yeah,
I really
like,
did not
I
like
wouldn't
that.
be surprised if like that bothered some people. Like, it's not like, I wouldn't say like it would cause seizures.
It's not flickering in a way that will like give you a headache or cause
but
seizures.
it just.
But if someone's like, "Why are you that doesn't look good. Why are you doing that?" Yeah, like that's how I felt about these.
I think my complaint would be like sometimes whenever there's an action scene, there's like too much of the camera spinning around.
It's one of those things where I gotta come in here and just say, we are not yet at that point where the 3D animation can look as good as the 2D animation. This is the best that I've seen so far, but we're still not there yet.
Yeah.
And yeah, there are those moments where I have to stop and go, if this was all 2D hand-drawn, I probably would not be having this problem right now. But there are moments in here where I agree with you on that. There are moments where I went, I kind of have to watch this again because I don't even know what just happened in that brief moment there. Also, they introduced a lot of other members of the fire department in there, and I kind of wish we'd gotten some more time with them.
Yeah, me too.
I think that we get some stuff with the girl who's the pilot. That's pretty much it. And I keep looking at these other characters, it's like, man, you designed so many cool characters in there.
Yeah.
Which, this is another thing that Trigger they've done before. They did in Gurren Lagann, where they introduced a whole bunch of other freedom fighters in there. None of them really do much until like towards the end, but they still gave you enough to be like, yeah, okay, that's nice. But Kill la Kill was really good about that, in which every character in there, not only do you get to know all of them, they all get their moments to shine. So yeah, it's kind of that we got a little bit more like that in here. Because I really like their designs. I really like that each of them have their own different mechs. They each have their own different personalities, their own different jobs on here.
Yeah.
Because there's a moment at the end of this where the chief is like going in there and kicking ass. We had not seen the chief do anything except for being on the phone like, Gallo, you need to get in there right now. We hadn't seen him doing anything up until this point. I was really kind of like a little bit more time with him there at the end. Because it's like, I was not expecting him to be a big badass. Now he's being a big badass. And we're kind of away from it real quickly. Oh, okay. So yeah, I wish we'd gotten a little bit more of that in there. Like, but I'm still gonna give this a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, this thing is a ton of fun, and that's all it really is. It's just pure fun. Actually, no, like I can't even say that because there's a big ass message in here.
Oh
too.
yes, absolutely.
If you are,
it's fun with a message.
That's another thing I got put in here. If you are an X-Men fan. And you've always been like, yeah, I enjoy how they're able to take that thing and take like a metaphor for people being discriminated against by the government and using that in this big superhero setting. This is the anime equivalent of that. Like the Burnish, yeah, it's very clear. Okay, you're making a message about the Burnish and about the government looking upon them, and they come in here later and make it very clear what that metaphor is lined up with exactly in the real world. It's like, yep, which we'll get into that in the spoiler section, but yeah, I gotta give him props on that. Like, I had so much fun with this thing. I was about to come in here and just go, yeah, man, it's just fun. It's like, wait, no, there was a message in there. You got time on that. Yes, there was a big message in there. So yeah, I'm giving this thing a big 9 out of 10. Before we get into the spoiler section, though, we do just have to address this. I mentioned how I would have to come back around to this. The plot of this thing is firefighters in a world where spontaneous combustion has started spraying around, but when you spontaneously combust, you gain superpowers of sorts. So firefighters are people who have to fight the spontaneous combustion monsters that are created. Does anybody out there have Crunchyroll? Like, does anybody out there have Fire Force? Have any of you been watching Fire Force? It's one of those things where it's such a unique idea. It's not just like, hey, firefighters, cool. It's firefighters who have to stop people who, when they spontaneously combust, turn into superpowered monsters. It's so specific that it is insane that 2 different things at the exact same time have that exact same premise. And this is so much better than Fire Force. Fire Force is fine. I like Fire Force. It is totally okay. But there's no question about the difference in skill between the Soul Eater guy and the Gurren Lagann guys. There is no question about who's got more talent when it comes to adapting the exact same concept. Again, I like Fire Force. Fire Force is totally fine, but man, it is. I can't go back to watching Fire Force now because it's just like, oh god, it's. Seriously, if nobody out there knows what Fire Force is and you don't know what I'm talking about, it's the exact same goddamn concept. But I do enjoy this idea that maybe the 2 of them did this on purpose. Like, maybe the 2 of them talked about this concept, said, hey, let's both just try and make this exact same story. Because it does show off the differences between these creators. Because over in Fire Force is like, yeah, okay, so it's all kind of tied into like magic and the church is up to something. Yeah. Then you go over to Promare and it's, well, this thing, spoiler, and also I'm going to fight this with my firefighter spirit. Yeah, man, they're better. Promare's better. Way over there. Yeah, let's go into spoiler stuff right here.
Yes, finally.
So, yeah, because there's so much in here that we can't really talk about. But as we said, this thing just goes down the checklist of all the trigger themes. I kept looking at this thing going, so when are you going to introduce aliens? When are you going to introduce aliens? At the very end of this thing, like out of freaking nowhere. Nowhere. They just come in here. My voice cracked hard on that one. Out of nowhere, they discover a scientist who used to work alongside, what was his name?
Foresight.
Foresight, yeah. Who used to work alongside Foresight. And he says, yes, he killed me by uploading my consciousness into this machine. And the Promare are a race of aliens, and they're the fire that are charging up the burnish. So your powers are directly connected to the Promare who are in the Earth's core, and they're the ones who are about to explode and consume the entire planet within flames. All right, sure. Yeah. Like, it's one of those things where you look at it, and if you know this story, you're like, I knew this was coming. I knew that we were getting there. But then he introduces, he goes, don't worry, I built you a mech in order to fight against Foresight. And the mech is literally called Deus Ex Machina.
Although, wasn't the professor's name
His name is Deus. His name is Deus, so there is a reason in there. So there is a reason, but man, our audience laughed their ass off at that scene. Because it was so just this studio going, we know we do this.
The best is when Gallo and Leon ask, why us? And he's like, because you're the ones who found my lab.
Yes, that was great. Yeah, because towards the end of this, Leo, I think that's his name. I'm just going to keep calling him Leo.
You do that, I'll keep calling him Leon.
Leon, yes. Leon! Leo is fighting back against Foresight, and he just turns into this giant dragon that's destroying the entire city. And then Gallo grabs him, throws him into the back of the plane that one of the members of the Fire Force is flying. They take him to this big frozen lake that Gallo said he likes to go to and just stop and think about. And they drop him down in there, and they burn so hard they go to the bottom of the lake, completely burn up all the water, and then there's a magical science lab under there, and that's where this scientist AI program is, and he goes, here's all the information you need, here's the big mech that you need, and he just goes, so why did you choose us? And he goes, I didn't choose you, you're just the ones who stumbled into my lab. I love it, because the sense of humor in there is so good that they just address the big question that a lot of people would have. They just turn to the audience and just go, come on, man, we know you all came here for a giant robot fight at the end of this whole thing. And at the end of this thing, they go in there, and now it is just Gurren Lagann. Because it's two people who have to drive this mech together. It's even the hero and the villain doing it, which is how Gurren Lagann ends. So it's them having to power this mech together. And I love that they go in there, and they can't use it. And then he's like, what's wrong with you? And he goes, I don't know. I just can't use this thing. It just looks so lame. It is my firefighting spirit can't work with something like this.
And Leon's like, all right, fine. And he uses his Promare powers to like transform it into like a much cooler robot.
A much cooler robot that gets the big circle horns on top. And I went, it's literally Gurren Lagann. Like, the design is even similar. Like, it's getting to that point where I have to stop and think, okay, seriously, was this an alternate reality to Gurren? Is this one of the alternate realities to Gurren Lagann? Because you got the big, crazy, tan, blue-haired protagonist who believes in his fighting spirit, and then you've got the villain, the blonde villain, by the way, and now they're in this machine together. They can only be powered by both of them, and it's even got like the big double horns in there. It transforms based on their fighting spirit. Yeah, man, it's Gurren Lagann. But it still has enough of its own identity.
Yeah, it's like, didn't they mention that the Promare are like aliens from a parallel universe?
They did.
Yes.
They did.
Yes, and like something happened, and that's why the Promare like got into the humans.
Absolutely. So it is possible that that's what this was all set up. But even if it isn't, even if you've never seen Gurren Lagann, this is still just, they're able to make it so fun and so like adrenaline racing is the best way I can put it, because it gets you pumped while you're watching this. Then you're going, I don't care if this stuff doesn't make sense. Just do it. It's fun. And what I love is that Forsyth then starts fighting them, because what Forsyth wanted to do is that he said, yeah, the Earth's core is going to erupt, and we have the ability to use the burnish in order to open up portals. So we're going to take this and open up a portal to another faraway planet. We're taking 10,000 humans off the planet, and we're going to take them over to that Earth, restart life anew. Everyone else on Earth has to die. This is the only way to save mankind. So they now have to fight Forsyth inside this big spaceship, and he's using a mech, and the mech was designed for terraforming. And I love they stopped to say that every single weapon that he was going to use, that he uses against them, was stuff that was designed for that purpose. Like, he shoots out a cannon that just dissolves all these buildings down into dirt. He goes, yeah, we're going to use that to break down gravel so that it could be dirt that we could farm in. Yeah, or there's another like giant ice cannon that he shoots out. And he goes, yeah, that was in order to prevent solar flares from nearby suns in case we land, or in case we land on a volcanic plant. There was another thing that he decided to use. I can't remember what it was, but it was another thing that I just looked at and went, oh yeah, it's something you would actually need for terraforming. It's kind of weird they turned that into a giant mech weapon, but it's really cool.
It's trigger. Everything's a giant mech weapon.
Yeah,
honestly.
exactly. But yeah, they also did the thing where, yeah, this entire time Forsyth has just been, he's been not moving and standing very calm and just talking like this the entire time. And he's just breaking down here at the end, and his hair's going all over the place.
Like his eyes actually open.
His eyes actually open, he's all crazed out. I love when you take the calm villain and just see them flipping the fudge out.
That's honestly what scares me so much, is like, you know, if you make the calm, cool, collected villain snap, they've gone off the deep end and they don't give a fuck anymore, so.
See, that's good too, but I also always like it because it's like, yeah, now the villain hit you where it hurt. Because if you can like go up against the villain and they just constantly have that look like, I don't care, no, this doesn't bother me at all. And it's like, God damn it, what do I have to do to pierce through that like thick, crusty shell of yours?
What do I have to do to get under your skin?
Yeah, exactly. And when you see the villain actually flipping out, it's like, oh, now it's a fight. Now it's on, man. I love that stuff. So yeah, this is so good, that final battle. It all comes down to a very Gurren Lagann style ending in which what is happening is that the Burnish, they have a desire to burn, or the Promare, they have a desire to burn. They need to burn. So basically, well, almost called him Kamina again. Gallo and Leo, they team up and they combine Leo's desire to burn with
Gallo's desire to save.
Gallo's desire to save and to put out fires, and they combine that to basically turn the Promare and all the fire in the Promare into a harmless fire, and then they send it directly into the sun, where it can just now burn forever. That is a perfect trigger ending. That is exactly the kind of ending that a trigger thing has, where it's just like, yeah, your own passion is what saved the day, and you reach like cosmic planet levels of mech action. Hey, Peach.
Another spoiler, Forsyth was also a burnish.
Yes, Forsyth was a burnish, yes, and he was the one who actually started the fire.
Yes, he did not save Gallo. He actually, like...
started the fire, and Gallo, like, came running out of the house, and, like, Forsyth just picked him up after he collapsed, and everybody was like, oh, we saved that person from the house. And he thought, okay, well, I can use this to gain power, and I can use that to rise to fame. And he used that to get into politics, and then he actually took Gallo, who wouldn't leave him alone, because he's like, you're my hero, Forsyth, I'm gonna be just like you. And he convinced him to join the firefighters because they have the largest mortality rate. It was like, yeah, this will kill him. This will kill him off easy. And
he never did.
He never did. And there's this great scene in which he was talking about how I got you to join the firefighters because it has the highest mortality rate. And then you see Gallo on top of a fire truck. He's going, hi! And then you just see Forsyth at the top of these stretches like, it's so good.
Why won't you die?
I loved it. It was so good. But yeah, let's talk about the actual, like, other big spoiler in here. Before I saw this film, a lot of other people had seen it on opening weekend and had seen it in the days following. And I had seen so much ship art between Gallo and Leo. And I was like, well, that's bound to happen. But there was, like, an uncanny level of ship art. Like, okay, even for, like, regular things that have two very pretty figures there. This is a lot of ship art in there. And then it gets to a point in which it all comes back around because there's a moment in which a burnish is dying. And Gallo is saying, let me do it. I was trained to rescue people. I was trained to perform CPR and do all this stuff. And Leo's just like, no, doesn't matter. Here. And he, like, tries to breathe his own fire into her mouth, but she still ends up dying.
She turns into ash because that's what happens to the burnish.
Yeah. But there's a moment in which now Leo is the one who is dying, which, man, I know that's not his name. And I know it's not Leon either. So forgive me, but whatever. But he's now dying. And he's starting to turn to ash. But he gave Gallo the last of his flames to protect him from Forsyth's fire. And so then it all comes back around because you see Gallo going over there, and he's actually performing like CPR. He's actually like pressing down, like, come on, goes. All right, I got no choice. And then he throws Gallo's fire into his mouth, and then he goes in to perform mouth to mouth. And I went, all right, you're gonna give like a little bit of fan service there, that's fine. And he goes in, and like it is a very like closed doing, like going in like that. And I was like, all right, that's nice little like fan service for the audience that wanted that. And then they hold on it, and they hold on it.
And our audience went crazy.
Our audience went nuts for that. And hey, good for them. But yeah, they hold on for so long that I just went, oh no, this is a thing.
Yeah.
Like, this is 100% like, yeah, this is not like, oh, you just did that there for the audience that wants to see that. It's like, nah, man, you're trying to say like, yeah, I see what you did there, Trigger. Okay.
It's like they did kind of do that with Kill la Kill too, didn't they?
Did they?
With Mako?
I don't know, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember anything like that. But whatever. I don't remember like any romance being in Kill la Kill.
Well, it's not like it was very subtle.
All right, maybe too subtle for me. But this one, no, they stopped with no subtlety on this. Yeah, they zoomed in and it was just like, yeah, it's that old skit that ProZD once did, and when she was watching an anime, it's like, hello there, hi there. Oh, they fucking. What? What are you talking about? They just said hi to each other. It's a very lovely day out. Yes, it is. Oh, they fucking. What? No, they're not. They're not doing that at all. I'd really like it if we could hang out more often. Oh, they fucking. I know, right? Yeah, that's what this was. I kept seeing all that ship art, and it's like the internet just going, oh, they fucking. I was like, I haven't seen the thing, but I don't think they are. And then I just watched that scene and just went, oh no, they fucking. Yeah, that was 100% what you were leading up to with this. So yeah, it's 100%. Like, if you're denying it, man, they didn't come out and flat out say it, but yeah, man, they clearly wanted that to be the message of this. And again, as I said, the entire message of this is that the British are people who are different from the ruling class in the government, so the government is trying to round them all up. It's like, this is clearly a message about people who are different from other people. And then the big climactic moment of this all comes down to a very long, passionate kiss between our two male leads. Yeah, man, you know what this is about.
Yeah, like there's...
And you know something good for them.
And there was, like, even a scene where, like, one of the burners was just making pizza and, like, not being a terrorist or anything, but the freeze force still came in because he was a burnish and took him into prison. And
yeah, absolutely. Like, this is a thing that is all about discrimination. That's what the entire message is about. It is not a coincidence that the villain of 2 Trigger series now dressed like Nazis. Like, it is 100%. Like, yeah, that is 100% the message that they're trying to put in their stuff. Hey, man, I'm glad there's someone out there doing it, and I'm glad it's one of the most talented studios in all Japan animation. So, yeah, cool, awesome. Also, I love that we saw this on the 23rd, Bi Visibility Day. I was like, wow, Gallo, the most prominent bi hero of all time. Because there was another moment in there which it looked like he was going to make out with the...
Yeah, the girl.
The girl.
Yeah, the pilot girl.
So I was like, yeah, okay. So he's either bi or he's gay. He's definitely one of the two, which, again, either one, kudos to Trigger for providing some representation out there. But yeah, he's definitely one of the others. But yes, hello, Peach. Oh, man. So yeah, I was actually really impressed. I was like, oh, shit, they did that thing. All right, that's cool. That's cool you guys did that. Okay. Oh, Peach, you're getting hot in here, aren't you? You have like that, your eyes are like literally dripping.
Oh, sleepy baby.
Sleepy dog. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap this up.
Yeah.
That's it for this episode of the Post Geekout Reaction. We will be back this weekend with Abominable. I remember what's coming out this time. Yes, that's one that both of us are actually looking forward to. Not one of those ones, it's not going to be one of those weekends where like, oh crap, I gotta see something. Yeah, this one is actually something that looks pretty darn entertaining.
Yeah, it was made by the same people who did How to Train Your Dragons.
Yeah, which is a really good franchise, but then again, they could just mean that as in like, it's DreamWorks. Which, DreamWorks, that doesn't mean anything. However, it is like, okay, this does look charming, this does look cute. So, we will see how that one does, and then the weekend after that is Joker. However, starting next week, October 1st, it is Thorgy-ween, meaning that you're going to be seeing a lot of us, because it will be 31 days straight of horror movie reviews. Isn't that right, buddy? I want no part of this.
You just want to take a nap, don't you, Peach?
You do. You want to take a nap so bad. So bye, everybody.
Bye.
Don't let this dog sleep. Don't let that sleeping dog lie. Why are you still talking? Let me sleep.